Welcome, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing my wife ever did was smirk in divorce court, tilt her chin like she was posing for a picture, and call me broke in front of strangers, like my years of effort were a joke she could tell for laughs. Here's how it happened. I'm Lionel Harris. And for most of my marriage, I believed love meant endurance. I believed if I stayed steady, kept providing, kept showing up, eventually the storms would pass. I didn't realize some people don't want peace, they want power. And they'll use your loyalty like a doormat until you finally step off it. We lived in Bowie, Maryland, in a townhouse that always smelled like laundry detergent and whatever I was burning on the stove. I worked logistics for a regional distributor. Routes, carrier calls, late-night truck delays. The kind of job where you learn calm because panic doesn't move freight. My wife, Alicia, called herself a brand builder. She sold wellness bundles, talked about energy, and treated her phone like a third hand. When we first got together, her ambition was attractive. She made me feel like life could be bigger than schedules and spreadsheets. Back then, we were sweet in a way that made our friends roll their eyes. Alicia used to sneak up behind me while I cooked and wrap her arms around my waist, humming like she didn't have a care in the world. I'd pretend I was annoyed and say, "Ma'am, I'm operating heavy machinery." She'd laugh and say, "That's bacon." Then she'd try to steal a piece, and I'd slap her hand gently with the spatula like I was a grandma. We'd end up slow dancing in the kitchen, socks sliding on the tile, our daughter giggling from the hallway. The funny part is I wasn't even smooth. I'm not that guy. I'm practical. My idea of romance was filling her gas tank before work and leaving a note on the steering wheel. "Drive safe, gorgeous." She would call me corny, then post it on her story like she discovered poetry. On our anniversary one year, I booked a small hotel at National Harbor and surprised her with room service pancakes. She ate half, then made me feed her the rest like I was her personal assistant. We laughed until my stomach hurt. Somewhere along the way, the laughter became performance. The cuddling became a quick shoulder bump. She started talking to me like I was staff instead of a husband. "Can you do this? Can you handle that?" Not "how are you?" I'd come home tired, and she'd be in the mirror practicing a smile for a video. I'd say, "Hey, babe," and she'd respond without turning around, "Give me 10 minutes." 10 minutes became hours. It became normal for her to act like my presence was background noise. At first, I blamed stress. Everybody gets stressed, so I tried to lighten the mood. I cracked jokes like, I'm handsome, right? I'm still handsome." She'd look at me like I was speaking another language and say, "Lionel, please." I started doing more laundry, dishes, bedtime stories because I thought support would bring us back. But instead of appreciating it, she began expecting it. When I stopped being a partner and started becoming a convenience, that's when the disrespect got comfortable. Her mother, Denise, didn't help. Denise had a way of smiling while insulting you, like she was sprinkling salt on your plate and calling it seasoning. She'd come over, look around our living room, and say, "It's cute. Small but cute." Then she'd glance at me and add, "My daughter deserves luxury. You know that, right?" Alicia would laugh. Actually laugh, like it was harmless teasing. I'd swallow my pride, because I didn't want to argue in front of family. But every laugh felt like a little vote against me. The first time I noticed something truly off was her phone. It started sleeping face down like it was hiding. She took calls on the balcony. She started using new words, link, vibe, energy exchange, like she was auditioning for a different life. One night, I reached for her phone to check the time because mine was dead, and she snatched it back so fast it made my fingers sting. She didn't apologize. She just said, "Don't do that," like I was a stranger touching her property. I tried to talk to her. Real talk, not the "we'll be fine" talk. I said, "I feel you pulling away from me." She sighed, so loud, I thought she was trying to blow my words out of the room. "Lionel, you're paranoid. I'm building something. You wouldn't understand because you're, basic." Basic. That word sat on my chest like a weight. I didn't respond the way she expected. I just nodded and said, "Okay." But inside I felt something shift, like a door quietly closing. The betrayal didn't arrive all at once. It came in small, mean portions. She stopped saying goodnight. She stopped asking about my day. She would invite friends over and introduce me like I was a roommate. This is Lionel. He works in logistics. That's it. No pride. No warmth. Then she started taking girls' nights that became weekends. When I asked where she was, she'd send a blurry photo of drinks and say, relax. Meanwhile, our daughter would ask, Daddy, why Mommy gone again? And I'd lie gently. One night, I picked up our daughter from my sister's place and drove home through quiet streets, thinking about how to fix something that didn't want to be fixed. When I walked in, Alicia was in the kitchen on FaceTime, laughing too hard. She ended the call fast when she saw me. I said, who was that? She stared at me like I asked her for her social security number. Why are you interrogating me? She snapped. Then she walked past me and said, you're so insecure it's embarrassing. Embarrassing. Like my worry was the real problem. A week later, I saw a charge on our account for a hotel in National Harbor. It wasn't a family weekend. It wasn't a work conference. It was just a hotel. When I asked, she didn't even flinch. It was for a meeting, she said. I asked, a meeting with who? She rolled her eyes. Investors. Investors. She couldn't even keep a straight face saying it. My stomach turned cold. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just said, let me see the itinerary. She laughed. You want to see paperwork? Lionel, be serious. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I checked. Not her phone. I wasn't doing that. I checked the email account tied to our bills because I was the one paying most of them. There was a confirmation email with her name. Same hotel. Same date. And an extra detail. A request for champagne on arrival. I sat at the edge of the bed staring at that screen, hearing my own heartbeat like it was knocking on a door I didn't want to open. When she came out the bathroom, I held the laptop up. Explain, I said. She looked at it, then looked at me, and her face didn't show guilt. It showed annoyance. So you're snooping now? She said like I was the villain. I asked again, calm but shaking inside. Who were you with? She shrugged. Actually shrugged. Someone who doesn't make everything heavy. Then she added, you've been boring for years. Boring. Like loyalty was a personality flaw. I felt humiliated, but I didn't beg. I just said, so you cheated. She replied, call it what you want, and walked away. For weeks after that, I lived in a house that didn't feel like mine. She would come and go like a guest, humming to herself, acting like she was free. Her mother called me and said, if you were more of a man, she wouldn't look elsewhere. Friends I thought were mutual stopped answering my texts. One coworker even joked, man, you better tighten up, like marriage was a sport and I'd lost because I wasn't flashy enough. I felt alone in a crowded life. The worst part was smiling for my daughter like everything was okay. Still, there were moments that broke through the darkness, tiny sparks. Like when my daughter insisted I let her help make pancakes, and she poured flour everywhere like it was confetti. I laughed despite myself. She looked up at me and said, Daddy, you happy? And I told her, always when you're around. Those moments reminded me I couldn't fall apart. I had to be steady for someone who didn't deserve instability. So I started moving differently. Quietly. Carefully. Not for revenge, just for survival. I started talking to a lawyer in D.C., a woman named Tasha Greer, who spoke softly but didn't miss details. She told me, Lionel, you need documentation. Not drama. Receipts, statements, patterns. That was my language. Logistics is patterns. I began organizing everything. Bank records, charges, dates. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't argue. I watched and recorded what was already spilling out. When Alicia asked why I was so quiet, I said, I'm tired. She smirked like she enjoyed the silence she created. Around the same time, I protected what I could. Years earlier, before I married Alicia, I bought a small property in Prince George's County. Nothing fancy, just a modest place I rented out. I never bragged about it. I never even mentioned it much, because money talk made Alicia act like she was shopping. My lawyer confirmed it was separate property. Keep it separate, she said. Don't mix funds. So I didn't. I kept paying my bills, kept showing up for my daughter, and kept my private safety net private. Alicia's cruelty stayed consistent. No remorse. She would come home wearing a new perfume and say, "Smell me," like she was daring me to ask where she'd been. She'd call me cheap for packing my lunch. She'd tell her friends I was controlling because I asked questions about money leaving our account. Once during a family dinner, she raised her glass and joked, "Cheers to men who think they're the prize," then looked at me and laughed. Everybody laughed with her. I sat there swallowing heat, tasting humiliation. The divorce happened the way storms happen. Slow rumble, then sudden lightning. One morning, she slid papers across the counter like she was handing me a menu. "I'm done," she said. "I need a man who can keep up." I stared at the papers and asked, "What about our daughter?" She said, "I'll figure it out." Then she walked out to a salon appointment like she hadn't just cracked my life in half. That day I cried in my car in a grocery store parking lot, hands shaking on the steering wheel. When we finally got a court date in Upper Marlboro, Alicia showed up dressed like she was attending a gala. Hair laid, nails perfect, her mother and cousin behind her, whispering and laughing. My suit felt heavy on my shoulders, like I was wearing grief. My lawyer sat beside me, calm, organized. Alicia didn't look nervous. She looked entertained. When the judge asked about finances, she leaned forward and said, "He's broke, Your Honor. Always has been. I carried this whole marriage." Then she smirked at me, slow, cruel, confident. In that moment, I felt every insult I'd swallowed rise up like acid. I thought about nights I worked late, then came home and still washed dishes. I thought about birthdays I planned, bills I paid, the way I protected her image when her business flopped. Broke. I wanted to stand up and defend myself, but I didn't. I just kept my hands folded and let my lawyer speak. The judge listened, then said something that made the air shift. "Let me see Mr. Harris's documents first." Alicia's smirk twitched. The bailiff took my folder to the bench. It wasn't dramatic. No music, just paper. The judge flipped through clean tabs labeled like a work file. Income, expenses, dissipation, separate property. Alicia tried to laugh under her breath, but the judge didn't look up. He read, page after page. Then he paused at the forensic accounting report showing marital funds spent on hotel stays, gifts, and travel during the affair. The judge looked at Alicia and asked, "Is this accurate?" She snapped, "That's not what it looks like," with zero shame. The judge's eyes stayed steady. "Mrs. Harris," he said, "these records show marital funds used for non-marital purposes." Alicia rolled her neck like she was annoyed. "So what? He didn't satisfy me," she muttered. Her mother hissed, in agreement. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept still. The judge turned another page and found the loan application Alicia filed, listing herself as single while using my income. He asked, "Were you lying today or lying on this application?" Alicia's face hardened, not remorseful, defensive. That's when karma showed up the way reality does, quiet, official, unavoidable. The judge denied her request for spousal support. He ordered reimbursement for dissipated funds. He adjusted distribution based on her credibility issues and financial misconduct. Alicia leaned toward her lawyer, whispering fast, eyes sharp with anger. Her mother's smile vanished. Nobody was laughing anymore. Then the judge opened the separate property tab and saw the deed. "This is separate property acquired before marriage," he said. "It is not subject to division." Alicia's eyes widened like she just realized she never knew me at all. After court, she followed me into the hallway like she owned my time. "You really did all this?" she hissed. No apology, no softening, just fury that I wasn't collapsing the way she expected. I looked at her, really looked, and saw how comfortable she was being cruel. I thought about her early kitchen dances, about her laugh, about who she used to pretend to be. Then I remembered the way she called me broke like it was cute. I said calm and plain, "I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it so you couldn't hurt me anymore." She scoffed, "Whatever," and walked away. The funny thing is the private win didn't feel like joy at first. It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. I went home, picked up my daughter, and took her for ice cream and Laurel. She got sprinkles all over her shirt and looked at me like I was the whole world. I laughed, real laughter, when she said, "Daddy, you got sprinkles too," because I did, all over my tie like a clown. For the first time in months, my chest didn't feel tight. Not because I won, but because the bleeding finally slowed. Alicia didn't change. She stayed sharp. She blamed me for ruining her. She told people I was petty. She told mutual friends I was secretive, like it was a crime to protect yourself. I didn't argue with her version of events. I didn't chase the narrative. I focused on what mattered: stability. I moved quietly into my separate property, kept my routines, kept my job, and grew the small logistics side business I've been building for years. No flashy announcements, just steady progress and private peace. Over time, my life got softer in the best way. I cooked without dread. I slept without listening for her keys. I found romance again, but not in the loud sense, more like learning how to be kind to myself. Some nights, I put on old music and danced with my daughter in the living room, her feet on mine, both of us laughing when we bumped into the couch. Once she said, "Mommy, don't dance," and I just kissed her forehead and said, "Then we'll dance enough for everybody." Love became something safe again. The moral lesson is simple, but cost me a lot to learn. Don't confuse loyalty with self-erasure. If someone only respects you when you're useful, they're not loving you. They're managing you. And if you're dealing with a person who doesn't show remorse, you can't heal them with patience. You protect yourself with clarity, boundaries, and truth. I didn't need a public victory. I needed a private exit that let me keep my dignity and my peace. In the end, the judge didn't give me my power back. My preparation did. See you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.